In addition, please make sure you open up VS Code. We are going to be using that as well to practice things. So I had introduced last week CSS, just a little bit of it. And I'm going to create a new folder, and I'll just call it October 6th. So the way I'm keeping track of everything, I want to now create a folder for myself, and I'm just going to call it October 6th. I will select that folder. And in my October 6th folder, starting point is always create a basic HTML file. And we're going to do that now. And I'm going to call that file index.html. And index has a very specific meaning. It basically is used to tell the browser that this is the home page. And it'll make more, I'll discuss this more sense a little bit later on, but there's a reason why I use this. It is, and it doesn't have to be, but it's better for right now that we just create a home page. And because I'm going to be teaching you CSS today, it's important that we create a style sheet. And the way I'm going to create code today is using Gemini. So I'm going to go to Gemini. And again, the only reason I'm using it is this is available for free. So you can all use it without paying anything. Huh. So I will issue a prompt, create skeleton, HTML page, HTML, I'll just call it home page for CPA firm. Use HTML and CSS only. And I'm telling it something specific. Do not use any JavaScript. It should be a single page. In other words, I'm telling it I don't want multiple pages. And I'm going to see what I get. So I'm telling it to use HTML and CSS. create a separate file for CSS. In other words, I want HTML and CSS to be separate. And again, you don't need to do this. You can enter the prompt. You will not necessarily get the same thing as me, but you basically don't have to do it. So I will post it onto GitHub in just a few minutes. So it's creating something for us, a skeleton page, and I'm gonna just look to see, is it done? Yep, it's done. And then it also created a CSS file. So all I'm doing right now is I'm gonna copy this and paste it in my index.html file. And this is something that was just generated through Gemini. And I also will need the style sheet, and I look up in the header section or the head section, and I notice that it has a styles.css file, and it's going to be looking for that. So let me add styles.css. I don't have to call it styles, I can call it anything, but then I have to make sure I change it in here as well. The name here and here must match. That's the only thing that's important. So under the styles, I'm gonna download whatever it created for me. This is what I did. I just wanted to look at it first, and I'm gonna go into styles and I'm gonna paste it. So I want obviously to make sure that you have access to all this. So I am going to go to GitHub. First step, I'm going to initialize repository. And these are telling me you have two files that have been changed. And I want to, I'll just say initial commit based upon Gemini. And I will just commit it. Next, it's asking me, do I want to publish it? Answer is yes, I must publish it for you to be able to see it. So I'm going to say publish branch. And I want to make sure it's public, not private, because I want you to be able to see it. So it's going to go ahead and publish it. And it's asking me if I want to open it up on GitHub. Answer is yes. So you can see it's under QC Prof, October 6th. And if you want, you can go right here and download these files. There are many ways that you could download it, including by going in here, and you can clone it, you can do other things, bring it down as a zip. For right now, if you know how to do this, that's fine. But just to keep things simple, I am suggesting that you just go in and over here, copy it, and then go back. And this one, and again, copy and paste into files that you have created yourself. But there are many different ways of doing the same thing, and I am teaching you not necessarily the best way of doing it, but the simplest way. Right now, I want to try to keep things simple. So if you know how to use this, or you want to spend a little bit of time learning, or you can download a zip and do things, that's fine. But best is for right now, just to keep things simple, and I'm gonna have you do it this way. All right, so once you have this, and I have created, I had Gemini create a basic file for me. I did not do anything myself yet. I need to run this file. And the way you run it is not styles.css. So I'm even going to close it out. You must be on index.html, right click, and say open with live server. And this is the site which Gemini created for us. And please duplicate this. Once you're up at this point, let me know and we'll continue. And in this particular case, Gemini did exactly what I wanted to do, created a very simple basic site. And that's what I wanted. I didn't want anything too complex. Please raise your hand once you are able to view it on your own, not through my screen, but on your own. I'm gonna stop over here, and I'm waiting for you guys to raise your hand or tell me you could not do it for whatever reason. And the reason could simply be I'm not on a computer. I don't, whatever the reason is, I don't care, but just update me, let me know that. And again, all you have to do is raise your hand. I'm not asking you to say anything if you're done. Why? I just want to make sure you are keeping up with me. So just let me know because it's now going to get more complicated. And if you don't have the basic setup, it just becomes a little bit more difficult. So all I want is just a response, raising hands, or for some reason, if you're having trouble, tell me what the issue is. And I will remove students who do not respond from the classroom because I don't want students logging in and then disappearing, because then I do not know, I cannot pace my lecture. I need to make sure you guys are actually understanding what I'm doing, keeping up with it. If you don't want to be in the class, there's no penalty. This is not something that you need to do. I'm not giving you an exam today. You can just disconnect. But I want a response from everyone or a message via chat as to, and if you don't want to send me a message via chat, but you know what you're doing, just raise your hand. Like I'll do it later after watching the video or whatever. Just raise your hand. So I know that at least on my end, I've made sure that nobody's falling behind just yet. Okay, so if the website doesn't have the same look, there is a problem most likely with the style sheet. There's a typing error of some type. So look at the spelling of the style sheet you created. You may have capitalized something, or you might have called it style, so on and so forth. But yeah, please do not send me a message saying like hello. Either raise your hand that you'll do it later on or you've done it, or just send me a message saying what type of a problem you're having. But if you just send me a message saying good evening, hello, hi, I have no idea what that means, you know, especially in the middle of the class. And please keep your hands raised. Tishon, the issue isn't that you copied and pasted incorrectly. The issue is likely to be, I'm going to share my screen in 1 second. So even though you may have copied and pasted everything correctly from my site, make sure you're calling it index.html and styles.css exactly like this, because it's looking for the name styles.css. So 99%, if you're getting the text but you're not getting the styles correct, that means you made a mistake over here. You might have called it style rather than styles with an S, or you might have capitalized something. I don't know. But this and this must match. That's the critical thing. Okay. Samantha and others as well. Um, you are not going to see whatever I type in into Gemini. You need to get this code from GitHub. You're not gonna be like, if you even duplicate the prompt I gave, you're not necessarily gonna end up with a website that looks like mine. The reason I do this in front of you, like I open up on my end, let me just open up Gemini. The reason I'm doing this is just to show you how you can potentially generate code for yourself in the future. So I use this as a prompt, but if you use this as a prompt, most likely you're not going to end up with the exact same code that I did. So it's more important that you go to my GitHub page and copy it from there. I want it to look exactly like mine. Hi Allah. All right. Again, keep your hands raised, and I'm gonna continue in just about a minute or so. At this time, I'm removing students that have not responded. Um, if you are actually there, you can try to reconnect. But if you did not respond, either by raising your hand or sending me a message, I am removing you from the class at this time. All right, everybody can lower their hands. Um, Information about my GitHub page and all that I have covered. I mean, we are way uh, into this course. So many classes have gone by. So I've already provided this information multiple times. This is not the first semester. I mean, first week or two of classes. So look through your notes and find it. But or look up in the on this screen. My name is QC Prof on GitHub, and we've been doing this now for several weeks. So these are things that at this stage you should not be asking. I mean, finding my GitHub page. So now again, please make sure you have lowered your hand. I'm about to start the next phase of it, which is the real part of the lecture. So right now I want to make sure that you have all caught up to this point, or at least you have told me you understand up to this. So now what we are going to do is the following. We're going to just focus on our index page. I'm going to go from top to bottom, and I'm going to explain what's going on with the index page. And this portion, what I'm going through right now, what I'm explaining is important, but because this is pretty much the last time I'm going to cover this, and after this, I will be giving you an exam which will be based on HTML and CSS. So once I'm done with this material, that would be it. Then you'll have your next or your first exam. So you have a skeleton, and the way the HTML skeleton is set up, you typically use this thing at the top to let the browser, whether you're using Chrome, Edge, Safari, whatever, to let the browser know that this is an HTML document. These things are not absolutely necessary. You can skip a lot of the stuff. The HTML is not very strict, which means browsers will typically be able to understand what you're saying, even if you don't do things 100% correctly. So, please do not do this. Only I'm gonna do this, okay? I'm gonna do things to sort of mess it up, and do not do this. All right, so I'm gonna get rid of this thing at the top. I'm even gonna get rid of the head. I leave the body, and at the bottom I will leave just the body, and I'll get rid of HTML. So I've sort of already messed up my HTML page. But if I go and I look at it, I'm going to refresh this page. Yeah, it's messed up, but you can still see a lot of the information, right? HTML is still there. What got messed up is the style sheet, but it still recognizes this as an HTML page. It's very forgiving. So even if you don't do things exactly right, the browsers that we are using, Chrome, Firefox, Brave, whatever, all these browsers render HTML pages. They are very forgiving, and they will render it. So why is my style messed up? Well, I explained that. So the style is messed up, and because my head section, not header, but head, it no longer is linking the style sheet. That's why it's messed up. So I'm going to undo these changes. So I put the HTML back up, and I put the head back up. So I'm back to normal. The reason it was getting messed up is because of this right here. It wasn't linked. So now if I go and I look at my page, it looks normal again. All right. So it's very forgiving, but when you are doing stuff, I expect you to follow all the proper conventions, and which is basically this. And if you're unsure, you can always use any AI tool to help you create a web page. Okay. So this is step one. So in here, what are we saying? Language is English. You don't have to tell it. It will work just fine if you don't tell it language is English. But again, to help the browser, we are telling it language is English. Meta, it's a character set. We are telling it, again, you can eliminate it. Second line, it's saying that make it responsive, make it work on a tablet or a phone or a large computer screen. Title is what appears up here. This is where the title is. Smith and Associates CPA firm. And then we are linking this style sheet, which explains or tells us what colors and all that to use. And please lower your hands, everyone. All right. And I'm going to just go down, and hopefully this is going to be making sense to you. We have the body section, which is what appears on the web page. Within that, we created a header section. And this header section is not the same as head. It's the header. It's what's going to go on the top of the page. So typically when we create a website, there's typically a header section, the main section, and then a footer section. We typically will break it up into these three sections. And that's what we have here. In here, this header section, we create what's called a div in here, div. And div is just an arbitrary way of dividing your web page. It is similar to the way we did header, but header has a meaning. It's called semantic HTML. It means something. Div is just telling it we are creating a division on a web page. And we gave it a class of container. What that means is we are telling it to use styles which are associated with container. Well, what are those styles? If I go in here, you will see we have all these things. So in here, we have a dot container. This is what we call a class. And in here, we have settings. This is again, Gemini did this. There's a width setting. There is a max width setting, a margin, something called overflow, padding. These are all CSS things. And I'm going to go over these, but we're not going to go into this in too much detail. Why? Because you'll be able to generate your CSS using some sort of AI tool. You're not going to be sitting there and creating these manually by hand. But once they are generated, like in this case, it was generated for me, then you may want to tweak things. And that's why it's important for you to understand just the basics of CSS. So as I look for the body, this is what was selected. You are using a font of Arial or sans serif. It's saying use this one. If this is not available, use this one. Margin, we said we want 0, padding 0, and you'll understand these terms in a few minutes. Line height, color, and background color. So I just want to focus on background color for right now. We did this in the last class. So if you look at this website, it does have some background color. Is it this gray one or blue one? I'm not sure right now. Or dark blue one? I'm not sure right now. So I'm going to find out. And obviously, if I look at it, it's telling me that it's like this is the color, like a grayish, whitish color. But let's say I'm not sure. And I don't want to use this color. So I'm going to delete this color. And especially for testing purposes, I'll just type in a color, like I'll type in orange. Why? And you have to put a semicolon at the end. Why am I doing this? So that I can see if I change this color in the body section, what effect it has on my page. And this is still blue, blue, blue. But this is no longer like a light gray shade. I just made that. So the body color is only affecting this portion. It's not affecting this. Why? We'll find out. I'm not sure yet, but all I know is this color and this color, they are overriding the body color. Even in here, this color is overriding the body color. This is the body color, orange. How do I know? Because I just made it orange over here. And this is telling you what the front color is, which seems like some sort of a shade of black, but I'm not going to change that just yet. Next, I come down. The container doesn't have any color. I'm looking at color for right now. Then when I look up here, it's telling me H1, H2, and H3. They should all have a blue color. So I could define these colors separately, like I can say H1 color blue, H2 color blue, H3 color blue. But to save time, you can just put a comma, 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 and that means all three. And typically you are not going to do anything more than H1, H2, H3. It's not a good idea to use H4, H5, H6, even though they are available. Why? You don't want them to be. So, usually if you cannot organize your material at heading levels 1, 2, and 3, you really need to look at your material. You should be able to organize it almost always, but H4, H5, H6 is available. But in here, we are specifically saying use this shade of blue. And what you're seeing down below, this is called comments. So in these comments, I'm explaining in plain English, what this color is. And as I look at my website, this is H1, H1, H2. You can see the headings, right? So wherever you have these headings, wherever you're using H1, H2, and I'm not sure where else, but this looks like it, this and this, because this is in dark blue. And and this is in dark blue. And I don't like dark blue. And what I'm going to do is change this. So here I made it earlier on orange. I'll make this orange red. And make sure you put a semicolon after that. And then I'm going to go. And now I can see none of these are H1, H2, H3. Not this. So the first H one H2 that I'm seeing is right here. And I thought that this also looks like H1, H2, H3 to me, and it was in blue, but for some reason this color did not change. And we'll find out why in a minute. And now this one is also dark orange red. So really in this document, only two places or three places: get in touch, committed to your success, and our core services. Three things which basically correspond to this: our core services, about us, and contact us, get in touch. That's basically where I'm using H1, H2, H3 right now. And to me, this looks like H1 or H2, whatever it might be, but for some reason the color didn't change. So I need to look further and find out why it's still blue versus something else. So I'm gonna go and look in my HTML, and this thing is tax preparation and planning. I'm gonna go and look there and see what is it. Did we use H1 or H2 or H3? I'm looking at it and it's saying H3, tax preparation and planning. It's an H3, which sort of makes sense to me. And I know we changed our color up here. H3 is also supposed to be orange red, but for some reason I'm not getting that, and I'll explain why in a minute. Now, since I changed that, and I'm going to change the comment, this is just for humans to read. So I will say, instead of saying a standard deep blue, I will say, and again, it's, I am using orange red color because I like it. I don't know. You can just make up any reason. It's for, if you need to explain, when we had that other color before this, it was in a number format like this one. So it's not that easy to know exactly what that color is. So it made sense. Here, somebody can just read it and they know it's orange red. But remember, H3 is also orange red, but it's not showing up. So I'm going to look further in here. Is H3 defined somewhere else in here? Well, I see H1 is defined in here. So it was defined before and it is being defined again. And again, I'm just scrolling down, pointing things out to you. H2 is defined again in the hero section. And notice H3 is defined again. And it's not just H3. I want to differentiate the way we are defining it here versus the way we defined it earlier. Notice there's no comma between service items and H3. No comma. When we did H1, H2, H3, right at the top, there was a comma separating them. Now we are defining H3 and we are defining something else called service item. but there's no comma between the two. And what that is essentially saying is, and I'm going to show you service item. In here, we have a section called service item. Let me actually find it right here. Okay. So yeah, we have a service section and all that, but this is the important one. What it's saying is, if there is a section called service item and there is a H3 defined within it, I want you to use that blue color. So, and it's happening over here, it's happening here. Service item, H3. Service item, H3. So if I'm in the service item section, which is this one, I want to use a different color for H3. And to prove that it works, in here, I'm not gonna use the blue color, but I'm gonna change it to dark green. Again, I'm not doing it because it looks good, but just to sort of prove to you that H3 can be targeted a little bit differently. So in here, it is going to show up as green. If it was not in the service item boxes, then it would show up as our standard red, right, this one. Okay, I'm throwing quite a few concepts at you, and I do not want you to worry too much. Why? Because you're going to be using AI tools extensively to do most of this stuff. My aim is not to get too bogged down, but I want you to just be aware of these things so you can customize it the way you want. And the way I am going to customize it, even though I showed you, is the following. I had this CSS generated by Gemini, and it's okay, but I don't like it too much. So what I'm going to do is copy all of this. So I'm copying the entire file, and I will go to either back to Gemini, or I typically like using DeepSeek. So what I'm going to do is ask DeepSeek to restyle it for me. So I'm going to tell it, update this style sheet to reflect a lime green and let's just say red theme. So I'm just telling it, instead of me going in and trying to now modify these, update this style sheet to reflect a lime green and red theme. And then I will just paste that style sheet. And I let Gemini do its work. So it's going to go through and rewrite my style sheet. And typically Gemini is much slower than either ChatGPT but it does a good job in styling. So it's telling me it's updated it, it's telling me what it did, and I just selected these line green or whatever just off the top of my head, nothing, no particular reason. So I'm gonna copy the code it generated for me. I'm gonna go back to I'm gonna delete this out, and I'm gonna just update this code. And after that, I'm gonna take a look at my new page, and it generated it. I don't think it necessarily looks good, but it did something. Okay. And like I said, generally Gemini does a good job. In my opinion, it did not really do a very good job in here. It did not make it look much better, but it did something. Now, one of the problems is it messed up this whole section. That's one of the reasons it's not looking good. There's a whole section that we had in here. So that just disappeared. I'm going to go back. So I don't like this, so I'm going to undo it. And I want to go back. This whole section, it had that white font. And what it did is it got rid of this blue color, and it sort of ignored this section. So it did not do a very good job on this one. Why? I don't know. Most of the time it works. This time it didn't do it. So I can certainly try again with Gemini or with DeepSeek, or I can go to Claude. Claude typically does not do a very good job. And actually with Claude, I will go through it in incognito. No, let's just do it regular. I messed up. And I will just accept everything. And okay. So I'm gonna try to do the same thing. I'm gonna take this style sheet, and Claude is excellent for actual programming. So once we go a little bit further into the class, where you're not doing styling, but you're actually creating material website, Claude is very good. But its free plan is very restricted. Even their paid plans are very restricted. They don't let you use it too much. The plan they will let you use a lot more is a 200 a month plan. So if you're on free or a $20 plan, Claude puts too many restrictions on you. So very brief occasional use, it's okay. It's excellent as an AI tool, but the pricing is something which makes it something that I don't use all the time. Let's put it that way. So I'm going to first just paste my style sheet, and then I'm going to give Claude instructions. So I can do it at the top. I can go up here and add instructions, and I'm going to tell Claude, convert this into and orange and lime green themed style sheet. So Claude is pretty good, but generally, it's not very good when it comes to styling. So I'm going to let it go through, and it has converted it. And now I'm going to just go ahead and copy it. I'm going to paste it. So again, I delete the old one out and I paste the new one in. And we will go and see if this is any better or not. So in this case, I think Claude did a better job. It followed my instructions of orange and lime green. Okay, so I'm again just giving you an idea of what you can do as far as the style sheets are concerned. So next step, I'm gonna get into much more of the what I've given you is an overview. We're going to get more into the details of how we will actually be implementing it, creating it, what each of the stuff means. And after that, I'll follow it up with more detailed instructions about the first exam project that you would be doing. So it's 7:25. Take a 10-minute break. Let's start back up at 7:35. All right, we're gonna get started and so the first thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna be sending you a PDF file through chat. So I'm gonna send it to everybody in class. I Let me just grab it. All right, so everyone should get it within a second or so. It has to be uploaded and it's being sent. So take a look at this site. I mean, this PDF. And I'll also go in the notes section and I'm going to just upload it. So you have it in two places. You have it in the note section, and you have it um, through chat as well. So the next step is going to be, and let me just open up maybe Word. So these are October 6 and so one of the things I want you to do is get approval for and this is all related to exam 1. Get approval for a business website from me by emailing me. Don't do anything just yet till I've gone over it. You can select one of the 50 ideas I have on the PDF file, or it can be something else. So it does not have to be one of these 50. Every student will be working on their own topic. No two students can have the same topic. When emailing me, and I'm going to be giving you very specific instructions. When emailing me, add accounting 343 exam 1 followed by your full name in the subject line. In the body of the email, give me your 3 preferred choices. I will respond by approving, and it is all going to be done in, you know, the first person, or once a student has selected an idea, another student will not be able to do the same thing. Send me an email now. Lecture will resume in 10 to 15 minutes. I will be approving or disapproving right now. So this thing is available in the 343 notes, just the basic instructions. And I'm going to take away the screen share because I'm going to be going into my email. So right now, you look at it, select 3 ideas, 1, 2, and 3, send me an email. I'm going to right now, next 15 minutes, look at it and I'll respond with approved or not approved or approved for item, 2 or item 3. And I'm going to update everybody right now. Okay. So please send me an email. If you don't know what my email is, look it up on Brightspace. All the information is there already. So do it right now, and then probably around 8 o'clock, I will respond. By the 8, I should respond to everybody, and then I'll begin the lecture. This is the topic you're going to need for exam 1. I'm going to be taking away the screen share right now, so I can go into the email and look at what students are sending me. So make sure you have sent it to me, and you should be giving me 3, and make sure you list it as 1, 2, and 3. Whatever is your first choice, second choice, third choice, and I'll say okay, approved for 2, approved for 1. And if somebody else has taken it, or if I'm not going to approve it, I will let you know. I'm doing this right now. I'm hoping within the next 10 minutes I'll be able to respond to everyone. If I'm not, I'm going to start the lecture and then I'll finish responding after the class is over. But ideally, I want to do it right now if possible. Another 5 minutes or so, and then I'll start the lecture. If it says approved, do not say anything else. Do not respond to me. But if it says not approved, you will need to come up with another idea. And I'm really only generally unapproving it if you did not give me 3 ideas to begin with. All right. So at this stage, I have pretty much gone through everybody's, and through chat only. Tell me if I have not responded to you through chat, not through email. If I did not respond to you, whether approved or disapproved, doesn't matter. So I'm going through your messages right now. Do not tell me if I've already approved you. Only if I have not approved you. All right, so this is what we're going to do. The ones that were not approved, you need to come up with a different idea from whatever you sent me originally. I'm going to start the class now. So now I'm going to just add another item at the bottom. If you were not approved or I did not respond to your email. Add. Second request to the subject line. And this is in addition to originally requested information. So in addition to that, just add second request, send it to me, and then I will take a look at it. I'm not gonna look at it right now because I wanna move on and teach material. So I'm not gonna be looking at it right now, but I will get back to you. For the rest of you, you should now have your topic set up. So what I am gonna do at this stage is pretty much work with this side, and I'm going to be going over how you do CSS from scratch. So I'm going to take this one and just going to delete it out. Nothing in there. And I'll have you look at my website. And this is what it looks like without any styling or formatting. So this is going to be our starting point. So what you're seeing right now is pure HTML. And as I go through this, I'm gonna possibly simplify things or get rid of them here and there. So if I am aiming for the entire body, that's the top level, I'm gonna create a style for that. So I'm gonna just type body and create a style for that. And things that I've done so far, I've given you examples of background color, and I'm gonna select maybe, again, I'm not selecting it because these are gonna look good. I'm selecting it because they're gonna be very visible. Aqua. So I'm selecting that particular color. It's a background color. So I just made everything like a blue color. So if you want to target everything on your page, this can be done through a background color. So body is targeting basically everything. So if I look at my HTML body, so whether it's header or whatever else I got, we're targeting it. Now, header, I want to target it a little bit differently. So I'm going to go in here and create a brand new style for header. And I'll just say I want the background color to be, and all I'm trying to do is make it be very different from the existing color. So I'll make it blue violet. So wherever I have the header, which is really this section, I made it blue violet. Now you remember originally these items did not appear like this. They were like menu items going across. And I want to figure out how I could do it, menu items going across. So I'm gonna just go to my index, and I'm gonna just copy this header section. And I'm gonna go here. And again, what I'm trying to do is like make it into a menu. So I'll go to Gemini, I'll create a new chat, and I'll say create a single line menu how can I create a single line menu for this code? Explain the CSS needed in detail. And then I'll just post my code for it to look at. So only a small section I need advice. Like I have it set up right now as list items. That's how you typically will create it in HTML. But I don't want it to look like this. It looks ugly. Like again, if you look at this, it looks ugly. It doesn't look like a menu. So I want it to be like Smith and Associates and then something going across. And I'm trying to figure out how I can do that. So I'm not asking it to, I'm asking it, how can I do it and explain the CSS in detail. And here I'm going to add explain in English. I want you to explain to me, how, and I'm going to just send it out. So it's telling me a couple of things. To get the menu items on a single line, we primarily need to target the UL, which stands for unordered list. Unordered list tag, okay, or element rather, and its children. So list items and the children items within the nav. So it's suggesting, but I'm not going to be copying and pasting this, okay? So it's suggesting something to me, and I want to look and see, what does it mean? So first, it's saying we are going to target unordered list and the nav element. So gonna look in my code and I'm gonna try to understand what it's talking about. So it's saying unordered list within the nav. So wherever you have an unordered list like this one, we want to target this section because this is the one which is not appearing in a single line. That's the one I want to appear on a single line. So it's saying list style is equal to none, and this will remove the default bullet points. So what I'm going to do is just copy portion of the code. And I'm going to paste it in my styles. So this is the one that they had given us. But what I'm going to do is right now, I just want to target unordered list. It should be done with nav, but I'm just going to target unordered list. And then I'm going to get rid of all of these things for a minute. So it's supposed to help us remove the bullets. So if you look at the page now, there are no bullets in front of it anymore. It still looks ugly, but there are no bullets. When I did not have that, there were bullets in front of it. And just sort of again to prove it to you, if I were to get rid of this line, and I were to look at my page, you can see it has these bullets. So the first thing we're doing is we want it to be going across. So we're going to get rid of these bullets. And then a couple of other things we're doing. We're going to do something called padding and margin. And I'm going to be explaining these, but we're just saying I want padding to be 0, margin to be 0. And then I'm using another property called right align, and I'm saying it should be right aligned. So once I have these properties, I right aligned it. I said there's no margin or padding. But you see, it's still, it's not all on one line, which is what I wanted. But this is step one. I wanted the menu items to go here. And this step right here is optional if I don't want to right align it. But we are removing what's called margins and paddings, and I'm going to be explaining those in a few minutes. I'm going to go back to my Gemini. So it's saying first do this. What will it help us do? It's all we're doing is changing the styling. But then we got to do some other stuff also. And this is saying this is the key part. So for nav unordered list items. So in here, I was targeting just unordered list, which is okay for right now. But we don't want it to be just unordered list. I want to now target the list items. So I'm going to just do this for right now. Copy this. And paste it here. So for list items, the big thing is I'm saying inline block. Display is equal to inline block. Margin, again, I'll be able to explain it, but that's not a big thing. So by saying inline block, I got the name up there, but now it looks like this. So I wanted it across, and I've been able to do that by saying inline block. And then there is a third part to it. It's saying get rid of text decorations. It removes the default underline. So you see this underline that's in there, it will get rid of those things. it's giving it a color, which to me it is like a bad color, but that's okay. So it did part of what I wanted. So it's saying, in summary, the crucial step is setting the display property of list item to inline and inline block. So now what I'm going to do is just copy the entire code it's giving us, which includes the nav link and all that. So I'm going to copy it and update my code. So it's not just that I want to focus on unordered list or list items. Let me put it all together. And I'm just getting this code right from Gemini. So it's giving me this, and it's giving me these three items. It's a little better, but the way I had it originally, it was much better because it was all going straight across, and I don't quite have that just yet. Can I fix it? Answer is yes, but it's going to take a little bit more planning and guidance. So my original Gemini, mm, I want you to look at how it was dealing with nav items. It said list style none, margin, padding. We pretty much have the same thing. And the display, it was doing inline. And what am I doing? I'm using something called inline block. And the original one was just using inline. So I'm going to explain this as well. So let's just do inline. I'm not seeing much of a difference, but there's supposed to be a difference. And then again, look at other things that it was doing for us. It was giving us some hover effects, etc. So if I right now take all of this, including hover effects, and I'm going to replace all of these with the original code I was given. So you can see this is how the original one is coming out so far. The reason I am going through this is again to give you an idea of the complexity involved in doing all of these. Now, notice with the hover effects, I'm getting like a button coming up, colors are changing. So you can do quite a lot. You can do anything and everything you want. It all comes down to either knowing CSS very well or being able to use agent and being able to explain to it in detail what you want it to do and how you want it to look. So I'm gonna go to my notes now and try to like summarize things. I've shown you some examples, but now I wanna summarize things. So for the CSS, these are the main lecture notes. So I want you to open this one up. I'm gonna open it up myself. So basically everything you need to know is within this, and then the additional ones I've given you go into things in a little bit more detail. So this is the main lecture notes, which will sort of pull together everything that I've given you examples of so far. So CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. It defines how HTML elements look on a page. It controls things like the layout, colors, font, spacing, responsiveness. And what I mean by responsiveness is how it's going to look on a big screen or a small screen. How do you use CSS? You basically will always have a selector. So the selector is body, header, whatever. These are selectors. So the way you use this is you will have a selector, and then in these curly parentheses, you define some property and value. Background color, and I want it to be blue. So body, background color, blue. So this is the standard syntax. So for H1, here's an example. Color, teal. And then I'm defining another property called font size, 24 pixels. How CSS is added? There are three ways that you can add CSS. There is inline, there is what's called internal, and then there is external. And I want you to focus on external. Why? Because in external, you will just define a separate style sheet, and that's what we're doing in class. So ignore the first two. Just use this one. Next. So on in your notes, or just make sure you like highlight, mark up. This is the most important one. This is what I want you to use, unless I tell you otherwise. Next, you should know a little bit about this, and this is called the box model. We're going to come back to it in a minute, but it's here to show you that there is something called a box model. And for the CSS selectors, these are some of your options. You can target any of the HTML elements, body, header, etc. And you can also target what's called a class. You just make up a name. So like right here, I'm using a container class, and the class is defined, and I'm going to do that here next. A class is defined always using a dot. So I'm saying container, and I'm going to define my things here. So here I'll just make my background color something very different. Let's just make it chocolate, like a brown color. So wherever I'm using the class of container, it's a name I made up. I'll call it now my container. My container. And if you look here, it's no longer brown anywhere. You can give it whatever name you want. My A, B, C, D, or just A, B, C, D. So I just want to have, and you don't want to do this because it should make sort of some sense as to what what we're doing with it. But I'll just call it A, B, C, D. And if you look here, it's back to original. Now, wherever we want to use class of A, B, C, D, meaning brown color, let's right here, I'm using container, and I'm going to change that and say this class should be not container but ABCD. In other words, wherever we are talking about expert financial guidance, I want that to be brown. Where are we talking about expert financial guidance? This particular section, I called it ABCD. But this is just a container, a place where, so there are three types of selectors. You can use one of the HTML selectors like div or body or h1. You can use it with a dot, and then you're basically using it with a class name, and then there is something called ID, and for that you use this hashtag. So you have multiple ways of achieving the same thing. And I'm not going to get into the hashtag one because this is meant to be an overview, a broad level. It's very complex, and we are not trying to go into everything in detail. And one concept that I do want you to know is this one, box model, which is explained or described here, which is everything is content, padding, border, margin. And to explain this, I'm going to really simplify my web page. So I want to, wherever I am right now, I'm going to delete all of this out. I'm not talking about styles. I'm going to, right here, everything except maybe a small portion of the body. So I'm just getting rid of some stuff so I can highlight and I can explain. So I'm getting rid of quite a bit. So my page right now just consists of body and a container that I have. And I call this ABCD. It's a container of the type ABCD. And what I'm explaining right now is this in your notes, which is called the box model. This, and it's explained over here. But I'm going to end up doing the same thing. So we have content itself, then padding, then a border, and then a margin. And I'll just call it let's leave it as ABCD. So right here, I am going to go into my style sheet where I've got ABCD. And by the way, I want to get rid of the other ones because we don't need it for right now. So my style sheet is now very simple. And the page looks like this. I have no header, no menus, just one box. And I want you to notice right here with this box, uh, it doesn't look good. There is just no space between E and the edge. So by using that box model, I am going to put some margin on it. And I'm going to say margin, and you can give the margin in various ways, but I'll just say I want it to be 20 px. Px stands for pixels. Uh, and you don't need to know too much other than what I just said, pixel. So I say I want my margin to be 20 pixel, and then I will go in and I will look at the page. And did it do anything? I'm gonna get rid of it. Again, look at the page, and I'm gonna get rid of the margin. And I wanna go and look at the page. Did it do something? Uh, yes, it did do something. Look at the top between the brown and this, and here, here, and at the bottom you really can't tell. So let me exaggerate it a little bit, but instead of saying 20, let's make it 60. So when I do 60, it's moving it in. You can hopefully see that from the top. And that's sort of what I wanted. I wanted, so with the margin, and it's with respect to this box. When you give it a margin, the margin is from here outside. Next, I want you to look at this. We have margin, then border. So I'm going to try to put a border on this. Border. And it's giving me my choices. There are many different ways that you can do it. And then it's also giving me colors. So I want it to be a color that will contrast nicely. So I'm gonna try to find, and I'll use dark red, but it may not make much difference. Oh, I'm gonna change this from chocolate to something else now. I want a lighter shade up here. So I'll make it beige. Okay. So I've got my margin, you can see that. And I've gotten a beige color. But I want a border around it. And right now, I did say border should be dark red, but nothing is happening. And that's why, because I have not specified uh, some additional properties for border. And I'm going to go to Gemini, open up a new chat. And I'm going to ask it, how do you add a border in CSS? I mean, I'm assuming it's the border property, but it's not enough to just give it the color. That's what I did. You should also specify the width and the style. So what I did was I just said border and I wanted it to be red. I need to specify the style and the style and the width. So it's okay to say dark red, but I also need to tell it how wide, and I'm going to make it 5px. And I also need to give it a style, and I'll call it dotted. And then I'm going to look. So the order does not matter. I gave it in whatever order I wanted. Look what Gemini signed: pixel, solid, color. And you could do that, but I did it differently. Color, pixels, and I wanted dotted rather than solid. Solid would look like this. So the border is now in place. So margin is from border to the end. And to me, it doesn't look good that E is so close to the border. And that is handled through something called padding. And I have a lot of choices, including something called auto. So I'm going to just say auto padding and see what it looks like. No, not too happy with it. So I will go in here and I'll specify padding, just like I did with the margin. And I'll say I want the padding to be, again, I'm trying to exaggerate things a little bit, and I'll make it 30 pixels. And now you can see in here from all sides 30, 30. This is considered 30 and 30, even though again you're getting more space here than here. But when we did not have the margin, you still had some extra space at the top. So if I get rid of padding for a minute, and I want you to look at the page, you see we still have this extra space here. So when I add 30, this becomes a little bigger. If I don't want to add it to the top, but I only want to add it to left and right, you can do that. You can specify margin on the left side, right side. You can do it individually. But me, again, I'm just trying to introduce the concept. So I'm trying to add it to all sides. So by doing 30 pixels, I'm getting my padding all around, and you're getting some extra space up here. Can you get rid of it? Yes, but I don't want to bother with it right now. So the way it works is follows. This is the content. Content is surrounded by padding, which is surrounded by border, which is surrounded by margin. So this style sheet thing summary, you start off with the content, then it has padding around it, then a border, which is optional, and then margins. And this is called the CSS box model. And in your notes, you will see some examples of it. And it's telling you a little bit more. The total width is made up of the content width plus padding plus border plus margin. Next, we have something which is called the display property. And the basic options are something called block, inline, inline block, or none. and I have a full document on this site which discusses the display properties. So if you want to look at it in a little bit more detail, this is the document. I'm going to load it up myself. So display property, which I brought up here, is explained in a lot more detail here. What are your options? Block, inline block. And then in here, it was just block, inline block or none. Here I go into it in a lot more detail where I also explain, besides inline block, there's a property called flex, there's a property called grid, and then there is none, which we discussed before. Then there is something called inline flex, inline grid, table row. There's a bunch of ways of doing it, and here's a table that sort of summarizes these things. Your aim will be always to just have a basic idea that these things exist, what they do, and then manipulate them using AI. So I'm going to start off with some very basic properties and examples. So I'm going to push this to GitHub. My own style sheet. And I'm going to go to my index page now. And I'm going to simplify it much more. I'm going to just I'm getting rid of this. I'm going to get rid of divs. I'm going to, let's just do a very simple H2. And in my style sheet, I no longer have this, so I'm going to get rid of this. And all I have is body and nothing else. So you will be able to see what my page looks like. Just an H2, blue, and nothing else. And what I'm trying to explain to you now is this particular aspect of it. Block, inline, what are these things? And this is the detail, but I'm going to stick with the basic one, which gives us these four properties. So I'm going to just start with display property, and I'm going to say display none. What happened to my web page? By saying display none, it all disappeared. So why would I want to use display none? Why use display :none in CSS. Well, what does it do? It basically makes things disappear. The primary reason to use display none is to prevent an element from being rendered, which basically saying you want to hide something, you want to make it invisible, you don't want anyone to be able to see it. And then why would you do that? Well, you don't do it just by itself. You use something called JavaScript, which we haven't learned yet, to toggle visibility. You can hide something or unhide something. So a quick example would be that if I go to the college site, I am right now logged in. Now, if I click here, notice down here it's giving me the option to log out. Now, you should only be able to log out if you're already logged in. If I wasn't logged in and I don't really want to, well, I guess I can. Let me log out. Okay, so I am over here. Now I'm unable to log in. Sorry, I'm only able to log in. I cannot log out. There's no longer a log out button. So what you can do on a web page itself is conditionally show or hide things using the display none. And you're going to use it really once you get to learn a little bit of JavaScript, because it will make more sense then. Till then, it's not going to make too much sense other than, okay, you do none and it's going to disappear. Okay, I need to just move some stuff around for me. So I'm not going to bother with none other than to show you that you can make everything disappear. And what I'm going to do is just add another H2. And this will say accounting 343. So I have right now two elements, and the display, I'm going to delete it for now. So you can see my web page again. I don't need this. I'm going to close out of that. I don't need this. And I don't need this. And all I want to do is run the live server. And if I right click, I'm not seeing that particular option because I'm in the CSS page. If I go to index and then I right click, I should be able to see the live server option, and I'm going to open it up. So all I have is two H2 tags right now. No display property. So let me go back and add the display. And I don't want it to be none, but let's try inline. So if I make display inline, what happens? Right now, I'm not seeing any difference between the two. And I'm going to go in here and say display inline. And look, so it's saying element does not start on a new line and only takes up as much width as needed. If you use something called display block, element starts on a new line and takes up the full width. So the default behavior right now, and I'm just making a mistake here. I wanted to go back to my H2. I put it in the wrong spot. Because we're talking about H2, not. So the default behavior of H2 is to put it on its own line. But when you do display inline, it puts everything on one line. So expert financial guidance you can trust, and then accounting 343. If you want everything to show up on the same line, you would be doing display inline. H2, the default behavior is block. This is the default behavior. So the point that I'm making here is you have a couple of choices. Some HTML tags by default are block. Some HTML tags by default are inline. But you can always change the behavior if you wish. So I'm gonna create now what we call buttons and show you an example of those. So here I'm gonna just create a button. And inside that button, I will just say submit. And then I'll create another button. Which says clear, or let's do reset. So imagine I have two buttons on my page, and these buttons by default are inline. Something like H1, H2, H3 by default is block. So what does it mean? Block means it's gonna take up the whole width. But some elements by default are inline. But you can change the behavior. I could put these two on the same line, and I can put these on two separate lines. So for the buttons, if I go in to my styles, and I'm going to display button. So I'm going to take the button, and I want to change the display to block. It's not going to do anything because buttons are inline. So yeah, this is going to end up changing the display. So let's go back in, and you can see by doing block, I'm saying it takes up the whole block, not inline. And if I made the buttons inline, so right now, H2 and button, they are displaying the default behavior. So it really doesn't make sense to specify block for H2 or specify inline for buttons. But if you find something is getting displayed and you're not happy with it, like you want it all to be on one line, you can go and actually enter display inline. Or if you want something to be on separate lines, you want these two buttons to be separate, you can go in and call it block. So now I have changed the default behavior. Buttons are on top of each other, and this is going straight across. So as long as you have a reason to do it, you can certainly modify the behavior. So going back to my notes, display property is basically block, inline, none. There is a property called inline block. There are a lot more. And you can look up the other properties in here. So inline block is there. It's like a hybrid of the two. It behaves like inline, but allows you to specify width and height to be set. So for the buttons, if I wanted to call it inline block, it will allow me to just set some sort of, so, but again, remember, inline block is inline, behaves like inline. I'll just do it for the buttons for now. So I'm gonna get rid of this and make this block. But this one I'll make inline block. Now, just making it inline block is without specifying anything else. It's just saying inline, which is the default. But I can modify it by giving it a width and height if I want to set it. So inline block, and I'll just add the width and just see what happens. So it's all part of the same line. So it's saying inline block, and then I'm saying width 100 pixels. Why does it matter? These two widths are not the same. So let's modify this. Again, I'm right now just targeting the button itself. So let's try width. And I'm going to specify what I want the width to be. So I want the width to be, let's make it 100 as well, pixels. I'm not seeing anything in here just yet. Am I missing something? Let me go back. Oh, I know. I ended up putting it on the same line. La, la, la. And here I made a mistake of not putting semicolon. So you gotta always end in semicolon, which is annoying. And let me just see. So now I got my 100. And if I want to exaggerate it, let's make it 200. So if you want your buttons to be the same width, which generally you would want to, then you can do something like this. Similarly, there is a height attribute, and it ended up opening up YouTube by mistake. There's a height attribute, and I'm gonna click on that. And let me set, again, I'm just experimenting. Let me make it 100 pixels. So I got huge big buttons. So there are additional properties. This document goes into it in more detail. So block, inline block, and we have additional properties like flex and grid. I'm not going to be able to get to those today. None. So flex and grid are important ones. I am going to cover it. And in your notes, where I logged out, I've already provided you with information about flex and grid. So this is already in your notes. So this one discusses what's the relationship between display property and flexbox and grid. And I haven't covered these two items. So I'm going to cover these in the next class, but it's already in your notes. So for right now, for exam 1, you don't need to do anything. If you send me a message through chat or whatever, that's not the way I want to do things. Make sure you send it to me via email. Okay, I'm gonna close out of this. So, and let me just look at chat if people have questions. So about the fonts, I'm gonna just hold off for right now. And if you did not get a response, I've already told you to email me. If you send me like this is what I want through a chat box, that's not acceptable. So make sure you email me, and we will continue next week. There's nothing specific you need to do right now. And this last set of things that I did, I'm gonna be sending it to GitHub. So it just is called display, and I have sent that to GitHub as well. So we are pretty much done for today, and I will see you next week. Any questions, you can stay behind. Otherwise, I'll see you next week. And keep in mind, if I'm saying next week and the college is closed, that means next class. Yeah. It doesn't mean next week, next class. And sometimes it's, they move the schedule from Monday to Tuesday or whatever, just the next class, I'll see you.